I'm on a quest to find music and art. Supporting local talent is the place I start. Yeah, this is our culture, the place to be. Games, books, arts and crafts and jewelry. This the guardians of the geekery. 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 And now for today's episode of Guardians of the Geekery with your hosts, Matt, Carol, and Joey.
Holy moly, Guardians of the Geekery back with you for another Geekery Market edition. Geekery Market coming at you on Saturday, November 9th, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. over 30,000 square feet of geeky goodness. As Joey has coined the phrase, it's like real life Etsy for geeks, holy for holies. And this is somebody that's been part of the Charlotte Geeks, Geekery Market, Muggles Market, Geek Gala, every kind of thing related to geekdom in Charlotte with everybody. He goes way back. Stan Peal, woohoo! Welcome, Stan.
Yay!
How's it going?
Yeah, so before we started recording, and by the way, if you haven't, for our audio listeners, we are covered in Wonder Woman over here. So
Yes.
Matt has Wonder Woman socks on his shoulders because he realized you couldn't see them if they were on his feet. And if you watch the last episode, you don't want socks on his feet anyway. So, and then I've got my little Wonder Woman doll, which we could talk about, and then we have my Wonder Woman glasses on, and then Stan is got his Wonder Woman ensemble together, and then Carol has the Little House of the Prairie background.
I have nothing because all I have are Wonder Woman books.
Right on.
Well, those are the best. That's the best kind.
Yeah.
All right. So Stan and I have actually been friends since like 2007.
Yeah.
We met on LiveJournal. And he and I were in a group about Dragon Con and the geeks and the Charlotte, and then I had reached out to him because I had this concept for a cosplay and I needed his help, and that was to take what it would look like if Wonder Woman in the middle of her spinning got stopped halfway. and so it was like her bustier, but it was under a business shirt, and her hair, she still had the big glasses on and stuff like that. And so you had drawn me the picture, and that was my profile icon for a long time. On LiveJournal. I won't tell you my name over there, so you can't find me, but I'm still over. I haven't been on there for a long time, but my journal's still up there. But yeah, so we met then, and then you were part of. I was looking for help with our first Geek Gala, and looking for some ideas for backgrounds and stuff like that. And Carrie Cranford from it used to be the Actors Theater. She's now over at Davidson Community Players. She said, "Oh, I have a friend named Stan. He's really good with backgrounds." And I was like, "I know Stan." But we hadn't met in person yet, but we had been talking online for a couple years as part of the group. And you started doing sets for us for some of our different events. And then Matt and Stan and I have all worked in radio and television over the years, and you've helped us put together some wonderful videos for our different charity events that we've done. And then you also helped us out last year with the set for Jedi Santa. So when Santa arrived from the North Pole, he did not have to worry because there was all the geeky goodness right there, along with you dressed as the Abominable Snowman. So it was awesome. So Stan, welcome, and thank you for all your help over the years. We know the sacrifices you've made of time and energy and effort, and we have driven to the Home Depot and gotten many a thing. Many a supply over the years.
It's so great to be here. Thank you. Thank you for asking me to do this.
Yeah. So for those people who don't know, why are we all dressed as Wonder Woman? What connection to Wonder Woman do you have?
Well, about, I don't know, a year and a half or 2 years ago, I started a podcast. I've really wanted to do a podcast for years, and I couldn't figure out what to do. I wanted to do a MASH podcast for a while, but I listened to I listened to different podcasts to see what was out there, and there's this MASH podcast that's fantastic. So I didn't think I could compete with that guy. So and that's MASHcast, by the way, with Rob Kelly. If anyone is interested in MASH, check that out. It's really awesome. And so I but I also love Wonder Woman, right? And I looked around and I didn't see any Wonder Woman podcasts. And then I found one which was a very slow, they do a lot of research. And so they put out like 2 episodes and then a year and a half went by and they didn't put out anything else. And I contacted them. I said, I'm thinking about doing a Wonder Woman podcast. Are you guys going to come back? And they're like, oh yeah, we're working on it, but do a Wonder Woman podcast. The more the merrier. Do it. And so I figured I would try to find some kind of spin to make myself different from their podcast because they're just thoroughly researched. And by the way, I'm talking about Wonder Woman the TV show, the classic TV show with Linda Carter. I'm more of a TV guy than a comic book guy, which for some geeks might be like, what are you talking about, man?
What's wrong with
Uh,
you?
so I unfortunately my knowledge of the comic books is sadly not very good, but I love the TV show. So
All
anyway,
geekdoms are welcome, Stan. All geekdoms are
Oh yeah,
welcome here. You're in a
absolutely.
safe
Yeah.
Yes.
space.
so
Yes.
so what I do is I interview a Wonder Woman cosplayer for each episode so that we can discuss the episode and then we can talk about cosplay. Because I've noticed going to like the Geek Gala and Con Carolinas and SC Comic Con, uh, I just think Wonder Woman cosplayers are fantastic. I mean, all cosplayers are, they have a really cool sort of level of fandom where they not only love the character they're playing, but they they embody the things that make that character wonderful. And they fall in love with the character in a way that I think other people kind of miss in a way. And specifically a lot of these superhero cosplayers, they do this great stuff where they go out to children's hospitals and stuff like that where, they really have these incredible and kind of deep experiences, allowing these kids to meet their heroes and they have these wonderful stories. So throughout the podcast I've gotten to talk to them and talk about this stuff. And so I really, I not only enjoy like digging into the Linda Carter show, but really getting to know these cosplayers and sort of, this wonderful life that they have.
And so the name of the podcast is Wonder Woman Wednesdays, right?
Yes, and it's at wonderwomanwednesdays.com. I've got all the social the social media connections and all the episode listings and you can start there and go wherever you need to go.
Does it come out every Wednesday?
No, I wish it did, but I am also I overbook myself a lot with different things because
I know that feeling.
I have ADHD or I don't know what it is, but I do too
You're
many.
neurospicy like us, right?
That is great. I love that. Neurospicy.
Yes, yes. We're neurospicy. Tom Walls wouldn't know what to do. Tim Walls wouldn't know what to do with us. Yes,
Yeah.
we're more than mayo and salt.
Yeah.
We're a little neurospicy. But
Yeah. So
that's not his name, is it? I said it wrong. What's Walls's first name?
Tim Walls?
Tim
Tim
Walls.
Walls.
Tim
Yeah,
Walls. I
Tim
think I
Walls.
called him Tom at first. Sorry.
that's okay.
Sorry.
He wouldn't mind. He'd be like, I totally get it, man.
That's cool.
Just I call him T-Bone for short. But we go way back. So we go way
Yeah.
back. So,
So I try to do the podcast once a month, like the first Wednesday
Okay.
of the month, if I'm staying on track. And I also do theater. I mean, that's the background I have that led me to do like the backgrounds for the geeks and stuff. And when I get caught up in a show, I've tried to stay on task with the podcast, and it's never happened. It's never worked. So if I get in a show, then that's like 2 or 3 months the podcast is down. But I'm working on improving that.
well, Stan, you've already just months ahead of your competition. I know it's not really a competition.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh, I do want to say though, that I have a great episode coming up because we just finished the
Oh,
first season, and so I'm doing a couple of special episodes. And the episode that I'm hopefully putting out at the beginning of September, which I, knock on wood, I'm on track to do that. I did an interview, a phone interview with Ellie Wood Walker, who was the very first live action TV Wonder Woman. She did a
Oh, wow.
the folks involved in Batman, William Dozier and one other person whose name is escaping me, put together this proof of concept short film. It's like 5 minutes long. People have probably seen it on YouTube. It's called Who's Afraid of Diana Prince? And it's got the Batman. William Dozier is the Batman announcer, so you recognize his voice. But he
Oh,
also produced this, and Ellie Wood Walker plays Diana Prince in this. It's it, I would call it a skit. It's so short and so brief and so weird, and very much like Batman. Like he's trying to sort of capitalize on the Batman tongue in cheek,
yeah.
really kitschy kind of thing. So it's not something that a fan of the Linda Carter show would recognize as the essential Wonder Woman, but it's really interesting and unique. And Ellie Wood Walker is the actor that portrays her. And I read an article from a friend who wound up being a guest on the podcast, and he got me connected with her. So I was able to do an
Oh,
interview
wow.
with her. So that interview is
Oh,
coming up as my next episode.
I can't
Well,
wait.
would have just been published because, of course, this is
Yeah.
airing like mid to end of September.
Fingers crossed. It wouldn't
Okay,
just
well,
been
hopefully
published,
it's
so.
out by then.
Yes.
No pressure. No pressure. But yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, it's hard to do a podcast. It's really funny because, we've been doing this podcast for years now. And then we took a break during COVID because we used to always do it in person. And we were only recording 1 or 2 episodes at a time. And now we've gotten it down that we'll do, via Zoom. I was so Zoom resistant. Carol kept trying to bring me into
Yeah.
the 21st or 23rd and whatever century we're in. She tried to drag me in there. And I really
It
like
was
the
tough.
interactive nature. It is a little tough with Zoom, but I think if there is a benefit to a pandemic, not that there, is that sometimes it forces you to learn new ways to do things and learn how to adapt.
Yeah.
And so we've done that. And one of the ways that we're successful with doing it is there's 3 of us, so we kind of hold each other all accountable. But B, we have a schedule, but we record, 3 episodes in one night and then air them. So sorry if I pulled the curtain back for anybody, but
Oh my gosh.
we are recording this probably 2 weeks before it airs. But that's one way that's kind of kept us on track. And I would say this year has probably been the best year for our season for podcasts. Last year, our season was 20 episodes. This year, we'll be at 50 episodes. But now Carol and I have started 2 woke bonnets because we also are neurospicy and don't have enough to do.
Yeah.
And so we do Little House of the Prairie, similar to like what you're doing with Wonder Woman. And it was Carol's brainchild. She's been wanting to do this for how many years, Carol?
Oh gosh, probably about 7, 8 years.
And we
I've
finally
wanted
just said,
to
we're
do
just
a
going to do
little
this.
house. We're just
And
going to do it.
yeah. And so one of the ways that we started doing it was I would go to cons and announce that we were starting
We were
this new
going to do it.
podcast.
So now it's like, well, we got to do it
We
because
gotta do
we
it
tried to
now.
announce it.
Yeah, so we announced it and I bought the bonnets, so we had to wear them. But that's the same thing where like, we'll record a couple episodes at a time and kind of hold each other accountable. But it was funny because when I registered the new podcast with Lisbon, because that's who does our audio distribution, I kept getting these emails like, congratulations, you've done 4 episodes. That's more than, 90% of the people who start a podcast.
So
People
true.
are like,
So
I
true.
want to do a podcast. And then they'll record 2 episodes. They'll be like, nah, I'm done. That was fun. I didn't get instantaneous fame and fortune, so let's go ahead and cancel it. So, but this is not, but Wonder Woman Wednesdays is not your first foray into recording and talking about different things. You also are one half of the Real Guys,
Right.
That's
Yeah.
with two E's, folks. Two
Yeah.
E's.
The
Uh,
real guys. Yeah.
yeah. Tell us a little bit
Yes.
about that.
Well, so when I wound up moving from Charlotte to Minnesota briefly and then back to the mountain area, Asheville, Hendersonville, and wound up getting a job at a TV station in Spartanburg. And I worked in commercial production as a writer producer, and my photographer was Jackie O. And I think we were only there for about a year, and our boss said, "Hey, you guys talk about movies all the time. How would you feel about doing a movie review segment on one of our live shows?" And we're like, okay, why not?" And so we started doing like a 3-minute segment that we pre-recorded for one of the live shows, and they liked it, so we wound up getting a movie hosting gig on the weekends, which is I like to compare it to Svengoolie because I love him.
Yes.
Svengoolie on MeTV, where he records, an intro, comedy sketches sort of in between the movie that he hosts. I mean, you're basically watching a movie, but you're seeing little segments in between. And so that's kind of what we tried to do, except, we more or less approached it as a couple of, goofy guys sitting on lounge chairs watching a movie and eating pizza and drinking beer because our sponsor was a pizza maker.
Mhm.
So we did that for a few years, and that's part of the way that we got more connected, I think, with the cosplay community. Because Jackie O is a big he's a big comic book geek, and one of our sponsors wound up being a local comic store. And so I think we wanted to bring what we were doing over to one of the geek galas,
Yeah.
and I think it wound up being disastrously bad, but we did it, you know.
That
Oh,
was, we won't talk about 2016. There was a lot of bad things. Well,
Yeah.
there was a riot that happened in Charlotte like the weekend before,
Yeah.
because of some police violence, police brutality. So
Oh
there was
God.
a lot of protesting happening in the city. It was
Mhm.
our first time. We were trying to see if the Geek Gala would make sense as a 3-day weekend convention. Uh,
Right.
I am too neurospicy for that. I can do a 1-day event. That is
Uh-huh.
what I'm good for. And so
Yeah.
We
there
are
was a
thankful.
lot of challenges in there, but nevertheless, we
Yeah,
loved.
but the best thing that came from that really was doing the promotional video, which was a lot of fun to do. And so I think we did a promotional video for the Geek Gala for maybe 3 years,
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that.
yeah.
And I loved putting those together because it was kind of a combination of our on-screen personas and also our video production stuff that we love to do. So cool.
Yes, they're like you cutting yourself apart digitally and putting yourself in various situations.
It's my favorite thing to get beheaded in a green screen comedy sketch.
Yes.
It really is. Like that was our one of our running gags on our
uh,
show that we did.
Yeah, so I'm gonna fangirl for a minute. One of my favorite things that I found out about you as we became friends and different things were your commercials that you did for Patterson Pope. And I remember there were days when like money was tight, the cable bill wasn't the thing I paid that month, and I would go to the internet because I always paid for the internet. And I would find YouTube videos of Patterson Pope, of you jumping in and out of filing cabinets and different things like that, and just
uh,
cracked me up so badly. And just I still, if I'm like having a bad day every couple of months, I'll be like, let me go see Stan in Patterson. He played Bob, by the way. Look up
Bob,
Patterson Pope
the
and look for the
idiotic
Bob
employee.
sketches. And then you
Yeah,
actually did an anniversary episode recently where you came back.
I did. And spoiler alert, I get to do another one soon. They're
Oh,
they're they're
cool.
gonna hire me again. And I told them, and by the way, just to back up a little bit, I part of I think the reason that works so well is because I get to be a comedy team with Scott, my friend Scott from Charlotte, who is a great actor, and he always plays the straight man, Scott Helm. And so we're a great team because he's tall and good looking and very serious, and I'm the opposite in every way. And so
Oh, no,
and
no. Sorry.
Uh,
You're
so
many
we do.
things, but you're not the opposite of good looking.
Well,
And
thank
Laura will tell you the same, your wife, your lovely
it's
wife.
especially in my tiara. And by the way, Laura is downstairs
Yes.
watching classic original Star Trek. We just watched a great episode.
ooh.
And now they're
Ooh.
watching the hippie episode, heading back to Eden. Um, I'm
Oh,
The way to
nice.
Eden.
That
oh
was
Crack my
my
knuckles and jump for
that was
joy.
my
Got a
one and
candle of
only
help from
Star
Dr.
Trek
Paul.
outfit, was to do like an alternate universe Star Trek outfit where I had the glittery, sparkly, hippie tie-dye fabric, but it had the Star Trek neckline and the little A on it. So but yes. But yeah, so you are going to get to be in another Patterson Pope, so that's great. So
yeah,
check
and
that out.
I told him, I hope you understand that I'm like pursuing this acting thing where I look like a gnome right now. Like I have long hair and big gray beard, and I'm not shaving it. And he's like, I think we can write that in. So I'm really curious about why Bob is going to look like a homeless man. And
Well, no, but you know what my favorite cosplay that you did for the Geek Gala was the year that you showed up as Mark Hamill, like older
oh
Luke
yeah,
Skywalker.
right. I forgot about
You,
that.
yeah, so for our audience that's audio, you need to come over to the video, check out Stan, but you will see that even with his longish hair, he looks like he could be the stunt
Mhm.
double for Luke Skywalker. So,
I'm
Yeah.
Luke Skywalker's shorter, fatter cousin.
whatever.
Oh,
Have
I
you
was
seen
gonna,
Mark Hamill lately?
I was gonna say you're a virtual Adonis, Stan, but okay, whatever. Long flowing hair, more like Samson, the mighty Samson, really.
Well, yeah, I mean, really, with the tiara, you look like you could be on Mount Olympus, really.
Oh, thank you. You know,
You
I did.
know, or how about Odin? You could play Odin.
I was just gonna say, I'm this close to being hired to playing Odin in somebody's senior film project in Kentucky.
Yeah.
So and
What?
the script
Hey,
is
you just
awesome.
brag too much. You brag too much here, Stan. Just kidding.
I'm this close. I'm this close. One more callback, and I think I've got it.
Oh,
So when
So,
you're
that's
not
awesome.
on the radio, I know you do a lot of theater. How many shows do you do a year?
I used to, I used to back in the day try to be in them constantly, like always be in a show. And now it's just one a year or less.
Oh,
I so this last year, the reason I look like this is because I got to do Escape to Margaritaville, which is like a Jimmy Buffett musical.
Yeah.
And I got to play a beach bum who just sits at a bar and drinks, and I thought I can do that. I think I
you've
can do
trained
that.
for this all your life between
Yeah.
the Real Guys Beer and Pizza
It's a
and
good gig, yeah.
yeah, like this is your calling, yes.
So yeah, one show a year is enough for me because like theater, they rehearse like 2 to 3 months, and then like this last show, it was a 3 month rehearsal period, and then we
Wow.
ran for a month. So that was like 4 months. It was a real marathon. It was worth it. It was a great show, but yeah, it
Thank
can be a
God it was
long
open
rehearsal.
bar.
Yeah.
Oh, and then you've played Gomez Adams in the Adams
Right.
Family.
Oh,
Yeah,
And
that's
then
what I
you've
did
written
before
a
that.
couple of your own plays.
Yeah, we my wife and I used to have a theater company in Charlotte, and I wrote maybe 3 or 4 shows that we did, and then a couple others that were too weird for our company to do. So, but yeah, we did one called Mad Mad Madrigal, which in Charlotte, like it was a successful show. We got a lot of audience for it, and we revived it 3 times. And it was just something fun that we wanted to do for the holidays that was not like a traditional Christmas show, like Scrooge or whatever. So we just had a lot of fun putting it together, and um yeah, it wound up being successful. So cool.
We get to go see it that in
yeah.
Tryon. Put it on in Tryon.
Oh,
So
that's right. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, we just did it a couple years ago, and finally, Laura has wanted to do a companion piece because that's like a winter solstice kind of musical. Like it's kind of Yuletide, pagany winter solstice thing. And so we wanted to do a companion piece for the summer solstice. And she had this idea of sort of like turning Midsummer Night's Dream kind of inside out and having the fairies play the humans instead of mechanical. It was, I don't know. She had it all rearranged in her head, and she's like, okay, here's this show, write it. And so I did.
Whoa.
And that for her birthday a year and a half ago, that was the first draft of that show was her present. And then we got to do a reading of it. So hopefully we'll
Oh,
produce it
cool.
soon.
Um, I just need to know if it has a blockbuster musical number in it, like I Eat Rocks, because that is a earworm that will
Wow.
not go away.
Thank you. Yes, the one that I'm hoping for is sort of like there's all these the weird thing about the show is that we couldn't come up with a lot of summertime songs. Like in the winter, there's all kinds of traditional songs and even like pre-Christian sort of what you would think of as carols. But for the summertime, it was sort of hard. It was harder to come up with what you would consider summertime songs. And so we wound up parodying a lot of more contemporary songs. And so there's an old 50s music it's called it's like summertime, some summertime, that song. And
Mhm.
so I sort of made a parody of that song for this sort of surfer guy to sing. And so I think that might be the standout song, maybe. I also kind of stole the Weatherman or Wellerman, because it was popular at the time that I wrote this. It's not so much anymore, but it's still really cool. The Wellerman thing that guy did on TikTok.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
So, no,
So
that
we
would
we
be good.
found a spot for that.
Oh, awesome.
Nice.
Well, we definitely need to, if you need to do a GoFundMe or something like that to get that up and running, you need to let us know because, of course, we'll throw 100% of our support behind that because
Absolutely. Thank you.
that's what we do with our friends. So,
All right.
um, but yeah, so again, you'll be at the Geekery Market. You'll be helping us
Yeah.
out with that. So, okay. So, one thing I've been torturing everybody with all 50 episodes of this season, much to Carol's chagrin, is I've been making people tell me if you've been to the Geekery Market, how would you explain it? Or what's one of your favorite things about the Geekery Market, especially since you've seen it smaller and now you've got to see it in the big place.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Um,
In
so
the big place.
yes.
Geekery
So tell
Market's
us a
gonna
little
be
bit
big.
about how you would describe it to your friends if they're like, "What's a geekery market?"
Well, weirdly, the first thing that comes to mind is not necessarily what you offer, but the people that are attracted to it. Like the thing that I love the most is all the geeks that show up, like all the different kinds of people. And because like I was saying before, these are my people. Like I don't feel the kind of social anxiety I feel in other places when I go to the Geek Gala or now the Geekery Market. It's just it's a cross section of like the coolest people that are out there who love the things that I love. And so that's the first thing that comes to mind. Secondly, there's like a little bit of everything. Like I have pretty specific sort of fandom geekery things. And so there's definitely like those things are there. And then there's all this other stuff. And there's other stuff like for me to fall in love with, like I wasn't necessarily, for example, like I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a big Harry Potter guy, for example. Like I've seen all the movies, I haven't read the books, and I think it's cool. And maybe there's like some sort of political weirdness about the author that we can just choose not to talk about. But like the actual, the Harry Potter stuff is super cool. And when you like there's one vendor that like makes these wands and stuff, and when you see like all this really like visceral, physical stuff that you can touch, and just grab it, and suddenly, like you're from Hufflepuff or whatever.
You're
It's
a wizard, Harry. Yeah.
it's really cool. Like it takes it to another level. And the vendor is right there telling you about like how she made the wand, and what went into creating not only that, but like this whole, like why would somebody go into, like creating this stuff and going out to these cons and stuff, and vending. Like it's a unique story. Like Laura has done that sometimes. She's had product that she um takes to, like, she was at the Geekery Market. Was it last year or the year?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but she finds it like really tough. Like it's exhausting, the whole thing.
hmm
And like, putting together product and figuring out how to present it, and then like actually going out and doing it. And so these vendors, I think, they're just really cool. Like they're cool people to talk to. And every one of them has a story. So it's just a really great place to be. I guess that's
Yeah.
the way I'd describe it. If
No,
that makes sense at all.
This is a really great place to be. That's actually a great tagline.
yes,
All
we're
right.
going to add that now to our list of taglines. We like that.
Yay.
No, but I think I 100% agree. We were talking when we did a kind of a halfway through the podcast season episode of just the three of us. And that's one of the things we talk about. Is one of the things I love so much about doing the podcast is we get to introduce you to about half of the people that are going to be at the event, because there's 100 vendors, and 45 of our episodes in this 50 episodes season have been with different people there, and they all have different stories. They're not the
Mhm.
same.
Right.
Like, we're not sitting here going, oh, I think this is the last season, because there's no new stories to tell. Even the writers, like, Carol always asks them about their process. And one writer says, I never write an outline. And the other one's like, I only work once I have an outline. And the other one's like, I have to write in the morning. The other one's like, oh, I dictate it into a phone, and it's just
Wow.
like completely different. It's just fascinating. It's kind of like when we gather all the charity items together for the gala. We get to see them all, and it's so cool. And then we get to see people buy them and walk away. And it's like, and it's kind of cool. I love riding around my scooter at the Geekery Market and looking at all the cool things, because I feel like they're my children. I'm like, I want them all to do so well. So
Yeah.
but yeah, so that's great. That's great. Well, thank you, Stan.
Yes.
Thank
Is there
you.
anything about Wonder Woman or the Real Guys or anything that we haven't had given you a chance to talk about?
I'll just plug the Real Guys, because I mean, we still do our like we were pulled off TV for being too goofy or too stupid or whatever. But we still do a live video almost every week from a brewery where we theoretically talk about movies. Maybe we haven't seen anything. I don't know. After the pandemic hit, we just stopped going to the movies because we started talking about streaming stuff. And we're like, well, this is a lot easier. We don't have to get a sponsor to pay for our movie tickets. We just watch stuff at home and talk about it. So I don't know. But it is a lot of fun. And that is Facebook Live is what we do. And it's at facebook.com/The Real Guys, and it's REEL. And so if you want to check that out, we do a live stream about probably every week on Wednesday evenings if we can manage it.
And then Wonder Woman Wednesdays, and then of course check him out in person.
Yeah.
If you watch some of our videos that we've made for the Geekery Market, you've probably seen Stan
Mhm.
and his lovely wife Laura, because
Yeah.
I stole some of your pictures and used them.
Oh,
Theoretically, you gave me permission last year, and I'm holding you to that. So
absolutely.
but yeah, he'll be hanging around with Jedi Santa. So
Yes.
come check them out. And thank you, Stan,
Yes,
for
thank
all
you.
you do for the community. We appreciate and love you and Laura so much. And we're so glad to call you friends of the Geekery. So
Yay, likewise. Thank you.
all right, well, have a good one, everybody.
Yes. Bye-bye.
That was an episode of Guardians of the Geekery. Thank you for listening. Check us out at guardiansofthegeekery.com and stay tuned for more content.